Greed is all around us, consuming people who we don't even know. It takes over their mind and can lead to the abuse of power, like what happened in Guatemala. 62 years ago, Guatemala was considered a democratic country, able to vote and have a voice, and who had power. So even when people have a voice, those one picks can still be playing the game for power to fill their greed. This is what happened when Colonel Carlos Castillo Armas was elected. Soon after he was elected, Armas was considered a communist threat. With the public's voice rising against him, Armas knew he had to do something quick, so he removed the voting rights for illiterate Guatemalans. A civil war is begun 6 years later, creating the guerrillas, who were the civilian army. With tensions growing, the greed grows as well, and Armas was murdered. Power-hungry politicians then reclaim the land guerrillas had taken. Thus, Miguel Ygoris Fuentes grabs a hold of power and changes it all the people's voices. He creates an automatic government, which means he has absolute power and does not hear others' wishes. During his rule, we see the beginning of poverty. People were being kidnapped, abused, raped, and murdered. Yet finally, 6 years later, civilian rule is restored, and things seem to look up. Power is still tempting, and the game is being played. So when Carlos Arena is elected president and is immediately backed by military, you can sense an issue occurring, which is why it is no surprise when Arena puts Guatemala into military siege. This is the hardest time for Guatemalans, as Arena's mind is too consumed by greed and power to care about the lives of his people. To gain control and power over them, he had no choice but to ease the military, resulting in an increase of fear. But still, these people had a reason to fear their military. This decade of freedom for the military resulted in an increase of violent behavior to the citizens, with only the help being the judgments made by the American Human Rights Commission, with their public report blaming Guatemala for thousands of reports of executions of missing people, but no action was made to stop their greed from raging on. General Efrain Rios Montt picked up the dice and the power rolled to him, as he made a military corporation, dissolved the Congress, and others with ruling powers. He segregated indigenous civilians and killed, thus creating another situation where the people hope to overthrow and create new system again. General Mija Victorias barges into pardoning all guerrillas were convicted before he came to power. Democracy is restored, and all seems happy again. But 2 years, when Marco Vencio Sequeira's Arredo is voted, and greed takes over again. The people's lives are even more at stake, with 100,000 dead and 40,000 missing. The people's hopes seem to continue to be crushed, but greed does not always win when compared to the hearts of millions. In 1991, George Serrano Elias was put into power. After 5 years gaining trust and fighting for what is right, the Civil War is ended after 36 years, and families finally have time to mourn. But genocide is not over as long as greed is in the world. People may think we are taught about genocide to keep it out of our future, when really society are fighting to keep it out of our present. To contact how to help end genocide, call 1-800-GENOCIDE.